Okay, so today is the 23rd of March 2022, and we'll pay homage to two architects and one graphic artist who illustrated often architectural scenes. Then at the end, I will show some projects from a competition I launched a good number of years ago, House for Akira Kurosawa, the great Japanese film director, because it is his birthday today. So Michael Manser, 1928, 2016. You see, he was born on the 23rd of March, was a British architect. He was president of the Royal Institute of British Architects and established his own successful architecture practice in 1961. Born in Bristol, Manser studied architecture at the Regent Street Polytechnic, now the University of Westminster. Before setting up his own practice, Michael Manser Associates in 1961. Manser worked in London and the West Indies for Norman and Auburn. He later became the non-executive chairman of the Manser practice. This is very interesting. I mean, it was his own firm. Why would he be a non-executive chairman? Interesting. His son, Jonathan, is now managing director. His daughter, Victoria, has her own architectural practice. Manser was president of the Royal Institute of British Architects between 1983 and 1985 and was elected a member of the Royal Academy in November 1994. Anyway, he received some prizes. In 2001, Architects Journal inaugurated the annual Manser Medal named after Michael Manser to recognize the best completed house in the UK. This was the man, apparently a happy man, as we can see. Although the models I see around him wouldn't make me very happy, but as long as they made him happy, I guess it's okay. Waterlooville Baptist Church, an interesting church actually, you know, because it certainly doesn't look like a church for those living in the Orthodox mentality we are living in here. But I actually like it. Now, of course, it's not too sustainable because of the large surfaces of glass, but aesthetically, I think it's engaging even because it doesn't look literally like a church, and I think this is actually a quality because it's about the otherness of the house of God. I mean, who would have thought that this is a church? I would not have, but apparently it is a part of the church. This is a watercolor with the front elevation. Of course, it's more church-like than what we just saw before. Capel Manor House, 1970, not very different from the church we just saw. But this one also, I would say, a convincing modernist European architecture, although this kind of architecture was not, they didn't belong only to Europe, of course. So this is Mr. Michael Manser, a British architect. This is the guest house on the same in the same estate. Rather unusual the roofing that he employed, but you'll see a picture from night during the night, which is rather interesting. This one. You know, very, I mean, if this would have been described as a chapel, I would have said, yes, of course, it does look like a chapel, but it's actually a guest house on the estate that the main house is. Some images from inside the house. I don't think that's him. It's probably the owner. Now, a private house from 1985, another house, another private house. You know, modernism, you know, second half of the 20th century in Great Britain. Nothing spectacular here. A Hilton Hotel at the airport, Heathrow, terminal number 4, large building, 1990. He did it through his firm, the Manser practice, as it is called. An interesting hotel, actually. Of course, the architectural language is, you know, typical of that time. Well, not really. Maybe a little bit earlier, like you know, Sir Richard Rogers or Sir Norman Foster. But there are qualities here. Even this exterior staircase is very well done, and the shadow, its shadow, would agree with me. It's interesting what is happening at the inside, you know, like a bazaar kind atmosphere, although it's a, you know, an opulent Hilton hotel. Okay, another, well, this is an airport, not a hotel on an airport or, you know, close to an airport. The Southampton Airport, 1994, the same architect. Although, again, strangely, he was a non-executive chairman of his own firm. Why would he be a non-executive? Very strange. But I'm not an expert in legal matters at all. But this one is interesting too. I would say, you know, as a, you know, a smaller airport done by the same architect. Now the British High Commission, this is in Tanzania, 2002. I couldn't find great pictures, rather small resolution, except perhaps this one. But it's a high quality, I would say, a modernist structure from the beginning of the 21st century. Now, how exactly this looks in Tanzania, I don't know. I don't think it's too contextual. Now we arrive at the second person we pay homage to, this very good graphic artist. He himself became a sir, but with the first name I would hesitate to pronounce. Muirhead Bone. So you see, sir, Muirhead the Bone, was born on the 23rd of March, 1876, was a Scottish etcher and watercolorist who became known for his depiction of industrial and architectural subjects and his work as a war artist in both the First and Second World Wars. Bone was an active member of both the British War Memorials Committee in the First World War and the War Artists Advisory Committee in the Second World War. It seems human beings cannot do without wars. Very, very sad. He promoted the work of many young artists and served as a trustee of the Tate Gallery, the National Gallery, and the Imperial War Museum. So now you see a picture of him in the First World War. He was, a lieutenant, anyway, crossing a muddy road. Here he is, here he was, more than 100 years ago. He doesn't look like an artist, but he was. And we'll look at some of his graphic works, and I think some of them are quite good and impressive. And he was an excellent illustrator of architectural scenes. Like this was, from a construction site in Manhattan. Here is a closer look at the artist during the First World War. He was an officer then. Anyway, while we are concerned with his artworks, figurative, of course, but I think good. He was not an architect, but I think he loved architecture. Well, he also created this series of artworks depicting the deadly wars. I don't know if this is from maybe the Second World War, whatever. We can see such scenes, unfortunately, in Ukraine these days. I wonder if Mr. Putin has time to contemplate such deadly, ominous images. This looks almost like a photograph. I don't know, maybe it is an artwork, but if it is excellent, but it does look like a photograph. Anyway, this one again, the devastation of war. We see, graves, we see dead trees, we see a dead building, several dead buildings. This is what wars bring to us. And we are the creators of these wars. Not all of us, but some of us. And I wonder why the madness. Again, a bombed landscape. Look at the sadness of the trees, dead trees. Now, what is this, hole in the ground? It probably was caused by a bomb. This is what human beings do to the earth. They are supposed to be the shepherds of life, and instead we became murderers of life. War machines, dead trees, soldiers who die for nothing, just because a madman orders them to kill and be killed. Some soldiers worried inside a tent. We saw this one in Manhattan. This one I find is one of the best works that I have seen by him. It's the demolition of a cathedral, or it was probably affected by war, and then it was decided to be demolished. but it's a very impressive etching and a very impressive architectural scene. And still a very impressive building, I would say, even in this state. And this is the artist. You see his name there, Sir Muirhead Bond, 1876, 1953. Someone else depicted it, him, I guess, Francis Dodd. Okay, and now we go to the third presentation today. It's a very short and imperfect presentation because I couldn't find relevant pictures about him. Karl Graffunder, 1919-2003, or Graffunder, North American. So Karl Graffunder, born on March 23rd, like the previous two, was a mid-century modernist architect whose influence from European modernism, Frank Lloyd Wright and Antonin Raymond, manifested in many residential and commercial structures, mostly in Minnesota. He was born in Rock Island, Illinois, and raised in Hibbing, Minnesota. He received his Bachelor of Architecture at the University of Minnesota in 1942 and Master of Architecture from Harvard University in 1948. Graffunder was the chief draftsman for Antonin Raymond in New York City from 1946 to 1947. Graffunder taught for the University of Minnesota School of Architecture from 1948 until his retirement in the 1980s. So let's see, I couldn't find, it's very strange. I found a few images of his houses, private houses, but with the churches, I found some pictures, but I'm not even sure this was by him, but I think it was by him. Some unsatisfactory pictures. I apologize, but that's what I found. Modernist church. It is the same building, but the resolution of the pictures is not the same. Another church. I don't know if I have a picture here. Bethany Lutheran Church, Minneapolis. Yeah, the same unpleasant resolution. And here is a detail, but still unsatisfactory. Now, some private residences by this architect who was born on the 23rd of March. We are going to see more pictures of this building, which I think is good. Mid-century modernism. It's actually called the Layton House. We are going to see more pictures, both from the outside and the inside. Nothing, alarmingly spectacular, but somehow exactly this reticence makes it good, I think. Structurally sound and aesthetically pleasant. And maybe even the big rock in front of the building would agree. The interior itself, pleasant. It's a good building. Lamp, outdoors lamp. And other houses, a few other houses, and we'll end this presentation, which again is short, but I couldn't find information about this architect. This was built by him, but I don't even know the name of this house. Anyway. this house, you know, in its modernistic modesty, it is appealing. And I read that it was selling for $300,000. It's not even a lot. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I have this money, but considering with how much properties sell, you know, and this is a house by a well-known architect, or yeah, moderately well-known. This is also an interesting house, I would say. I don't know how it is called. I don't know where it is, but the picture attracted me. It's rather interesting, especially what's happening, you know, at the top, where you have only narrow, I mean, not tall windows at the top, and then the wooden facade. It's interesting, this building, I would say. By this architect I knew nothing of 2 days ago. And in Minnesota, in Minneapolis as well, apparently there are very interesting mid-century architectures, both, you know, so-called commercials. Interestingly, even churches are considered to be commercial buildings. I don't think they should be or are, but anyway, and private residences. And now we go, I will end this short presentation today with a house for Akira Kurosawa, because it is the birthday of this great Japanese film director, one of the very best in the world. And some years ago, I launched a competition, a house for Akira Kurosawa. If you want to see in detail the works, you can visit the website I created, Icarch, ICARCH.us. But now I'll just go quickly through a review of some images of some of the projects that I received. From Kevin Chu, who I think studied at Bartlett in London, but now he's an architect in Hong Kong. It's impossible to read the text, and the text would be important. But you see here the top, the director Akira Kurosawa, and his leading actor Toshiro Mifune, a remarkable pair, you know, both the director and Toshiro Mifune, an incredible actor. I would recommend very warmly both any film by Akira Kurosawa and any film where Toshiro Mifune played. I usually don't know a lot about actors, but Toshiro Mifune did attracted my attention. And what I like about this work is that it shows the power of a narrative architecture, you know, which encourages dreaming and knowledge, because in order to make a house for Akira Kurosawa, you have to see some of his films and then reflect on them, and then try to express a house, to create a house that expresses something that his movies, you know, themselves expressed. Again, if you want to study it, please go to the website. I'm not reading now or explaining. Plus, I do not know. This was launched some years ago, and I forgot what Kevin Chu wrote here. I just go quickly through some images to show that a creative architecture can be done in the absence of, you know, the stringencies of what we call piazza, the market. Architecture belongs to culture, not to civilization, as correctly Alvar Aalto said. I think Kevin Chu here showed 4 hypostases of the house in the 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And indeed, the house is, you know, during 1 year is susceptible to the transformations in nature. This is, for example, the house in the winter. Anyway, now we'll go to a second house, well, house for Akira Kurosawa, which came from Thailand. Thailand, yes. Students in architecture dream in other countries much more than we do in our country. You see the house for Akira Kurosawa. The house of Akira Kurosawa is designed as an habitable, inspirational landscape depicting his inspirational mind. Truly a remarkable film director. I just show quickly some images of the projects I received. The relationship between film and architecture is very interesting and very fruitful. Now, just one image that came from Japan. I don't understand it, but here it is. It is called, a house for Akira Kurosawa. It came from Japan. And now Thad Reeves from the United States sent another work, is this one, the Kurosawa house. These projects are very interesting. Narrative architecture is always interesting because you infuse in the building a biography, a lived life, the characteristics of a lived specific life. And in the case of a creator like Akira Kurosawa, you have many elements to, sustain what you imagine in a so-called, house for Akira Kurosawa. But you see, these are seriously done works. They are not just some sketches done on the knee, some, remnants of paper. They are projects seriously done for a competition which didn't promise prizes or anything. I just display them on the website and still people participate. Why? Because they love culture, because they love architecture, and in this case, they love film. And this was done, almost 20 years ago, maybe 15, 18 years ago, when digital technology was not very developed. And now we arrive at a work which was actually done by me, but because I do this, I display some of my works under pseudonyms. So that's what I chose at that time. Maybe now I would choose something different, but at that time I said Kirill, Austria, Russia. It's a thing, building which I thought could connect with the films of Akira Kurosawa, because it has something of the samurai spirit, I would say. He has beautiful films like The Bodyguard, again with Toshiro Mifune, a beautiful film. So this is what I try to express through an imagined possible architecture. Yeah, I think it's important to dream. Of course, it's not enough to dream. You also have to act. But a project or, the imaginings relating to a possible project are a form of doing as well, no? So imagine this was built just as it is. It could have been named a house for Akira Kurosawa, which slowly but surely recedes in space. And with this, I will end this presentation today. Thank you.